Director and compassionate staff, the Gates family, and the Gates Funeral Home and Crematory are ready to assist you.
WMBS time is 8:20. The following program was recorded for playback at this time.
All content is for information purposes only, is not intended to provide any tax or legal advice or provide the basis for any financial decisions, nor is it intended to be a projection of current or future performance or indication of future results. Opinions expressed are solely those of Gary Boatman and staff. The information discussed has been derived from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to the accuracy and completeness, and does not purport to be a complete analysis of the materials discussed. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any residents of any state other than the state of Pennsylvania or otherwise legally permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Purchases are subject to suitability. This requires a review of investors' objective risk tolerance and time horizons. Investing always involves risk and possible loss of capital. Advisory services offered through Boatman Wealth Management LLC, an investment advisor in the state of Pennsylvania.
Good morning and welcome to Your Financial Future. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman, and we're here every Saturday morning on WMBS. Have you kept your New Year's resolutions yet? A lot of people make New Year's resolutions. It's only been a little bit over a week. And what kind of New Year's resolutions? Sometimes people say, I'm going to quit smoking, or I'm going to lose weight. Many people say, I'm going to improve my financial condition. And all those are probably good New Year's resolutions. We talked about them a little bit in last week's show and how often they are not kept. Part of the reason, people have good intentions when they make them, but are they willing to put in the work? I mean, can't we say that about life in general? Everybody has times where they go through really, really difficult things. Everybody gets knocked down and everything goes perfect for them. But the people who are successful and the people who are strong leaders, when they get knocked down, they learn from it and they get back up. And when I'm talking to young people about finances, I say, you're going to make mistakes. You got to avoid a couple big ones. You don't want to have children you're not ready for. You don't want to get arrested. You don't want to get on drugs and things like that. But if you learn from your mistakes, you'll get stronger. So I recently saw a study, it's not surprising the results, about half of the people in the United States feel that they aren't competent in financial literacy. And that's one of the things that we try to do with this show. We say that we try and explain Wall Street, and we could add Washington, D.C., to Main Street, to our listeners, the people up and down through the western Pennsylvania and into West Virginia, Ohio, maybe some into Maryland, because we know we're not too far from Maryland here. So we want to help our readers, our listeners. We've also written over 850 newspaper columns. Many of you have seen it. It was in a lot of local papers. We're taking a pause. Well, actually, once a month in the Senior Times, I've been asked to write a column, and that's in all the local papers. It comes out the beginning of each month. One should be out any day now. And I wrote about what can you do at the beginning of the year in there. But we're going to talk about some of that today, and if you take little steps. We're going to try, and on each weekly show, we're going to try and give you one simple idea that if you do it, you take steps. Sometimes it's called baby steps. Sometimes the steps can be bigger. But if you take one step, you will improve your financial health for your family this year, even if that wasn't a New Year's resolution. We're going to start out today talking about some of the top financial priorities for seniors in 2026. And, different people have different priorities that are more important. This is a fair ranking of them. And anytime there's a lot of people retire at the beginning of the year, there's a lot of teachers and like that and spouses of teachers who say, I'm going to retire at the end of the school year, so that's going to be May, June. If you were going to retire this summer or in the spring, anytime like that, it's not too early to start saying, let's get our financial house in order. Everything changes when you go from working, that's the accumulation phase of the financial cycle, to distribution. What got you to retirement may not get you through retirement. Financial principles and needs and ways of accomplishing it are way different. Not every financial advisor is a retirement specialist. We are retirement specialists at Boatman Wealth Management. If you're looking at retiring and you have a question, you've got some things that are bothering you, give us a call at 724-684-6600, and we'll be glad to help answer those, and we won't charge you for that. We think financial literacy is very, very important. So the number one thing that seniors need to look at it, and anybody that's going to be retiring, is how do you protect income and cash flow. Income and cash flow are somewhat similar, but they're also somewhat different. What do I mean by that? Cash flow, simply put, whether it's your household or whether it's a business or you're operating or whatever, it's how much money is coming in and how much money is going out, right? Hopefully you've got more money coming in than going out. Otherwise, you're in trouble. The government doesn't have that. That's why we keep getting the deficit up. And we have to deal with the deficit sometime if we love our grandchildren. It's been said that often seniors love their grandchildren even more than their children. We get to deal with grandchildren. You know, Christina, my youngest granddaughter, turned 1 the day after Christmas. And she pulls herself up. She hasn't taken that step. Abby was walking by this time. Abby's 3.5. But Christina's a little bit afraid to take the step. But just watching them grow and watching the development that they do is something. You know, being a grandparent, we get them during the best of times and don't have to deal with all the matters of doing your homework and all that kind of stuff, right? And we're at a stage in life where we probably don't have mortgages. We probably, hopefully we're in a better financial shape because we've had a lifetime to accumulate some assets. But so cash flow is how much comes in and how much goes out. Some cash flow outgoing is the same every month. If you have a mortgage, if you are renting, you know how much you have to put out every month. Some cash flow it only happens certain times of the year. Property taxes are a good example of that. While your rental payments or your mortgage payment, you may know what that is. Some outputs are different, like your utilities. And thank goodness gasoline prices are down substantially right now. We see that at the pump. But you got to look around. I bought some gas earlier in the week, and I paid the lowest that I've paid per gallon for years. I actually paid $2.70 a gallon. At a gas station 5 miles closer to my house, it was $3.38. That is 58 cents a gallon. That is a huge difference when you're filling up your tank. And you're only talking about driving 5 miles or so. You don't want to drive 40 miles to try and save 10 cents. But when you can save that much per gallon, it's amazing. So you have to look around for gas. But everybody's electric bills and their heating bills are going up. Now, thank goodness we've got a little bit of a warm spell going on now. That helps. I make sure when I leave the house during the day while I'm at the office and that, I turn the thermometer down, the thermostat down a few degrees at the house. It doesn't take long to catch up when I get home. Little things like that can help save money, right? But we want the permanent parts of our cash flow. The ones that are predictable, that are every month. Utilities are every month. We don't know what they are. We want to have those come in with more guaranteed income. One of those ways is Social Security. You may have a pension. Most people don't have a pension anymore. But those kind of things, there's some people that, there's some plans that talk about a 60-30-10 plan. You may have heard that on TV or something. 60% of your cash flow, your income, goes to needs that you do every month. 30% in that formula goes to wants. You're walking through the grocery store and you say, boy, I'd like to have a steak tonight instead of spaghetti. And we know the steak is much more expensive. Both of them will fill you up and meet your nutritional needs, but we need food, but we maybe want steak. So if you do that with 30%, then 10% is go for savings. And too many people don't save enough. So the number one thing that causes families big problems is when they're in their older years, it's in their younger years also, but it's when income drops suddenly. And what can that be? That can be from a death, that can be from a job loss, many different things. While job losses aren't quite as big of an issue for seniors because many are retired and don't have a job, when there's a death in seniors, which happens more frequently than in younger people, there is an income loss because of Social Security. One's going to go away. So you want to make sure the number one thing you want to do to put your family in a good financial shape is to have a good income plan and cash flow plan. We can help you with that at Boatman Wealth Management, 724-684-6600. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
When you think about income tax, the date that comes to mind is April 15th. But if you want to pay less lifetime income tax, Gary Boatman of Boatman Wealth Management says the most important date is now. No one wants to pay more taxes than legally required. That's why taking action now can potentially save you a significant amount of money. If you are selling a business, a rental property, or other appreciated assets, call Boatman Wealth Management today at 724-648-6600. Boatman Wealth Management has over 18 tax-saving strategies. They want to turn your income tax dollars into income-producing dollars. Don't let your surviving spouse's taxes explode because of the widow's penalty. Act today. Boatman Wealth Management may be able to help you do a Roth conversion and have someone else pay your taxes. Boatman Wealth Management can take your last tax return and analyze it for tax savings. Call Boatman Wealth Management, the tax experts, at 724-684-6600.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman. We're talking about what are the things, particularly for seniors, but it works for all families. What can you do to improve your financial health for 2026? The second point is reduce debt and fixed expenses. So, hopefully you didn't run up your credit cards too much during the holidays. Unfortunately, too many people did. We remember when Hills was around a few decades ago and they were the dominant retailer. And Hills was very big on layaway. And in layaway, you'd buy toys or Christmas gifts, and you'd take them to the back of the store, and you'd put so much down, and you would make payments. But when you picked up the goods, you made the final payment, so you didn't have debt. Credit cards have become very big. Layaway is not a big thing. I recently heard that there's something relatively new is buy now, pay later. You get this stuff right now. There's no interest if you pay it off in the 3 or 4 months. You got to be careful. But if you miss one, you can get crushed with payments. There was over $20 billion in buy now, pay later spent during the holidays. If you did that, be sure that you're making payments so that it doesn't go down. But what you can do is pay down high interest debt. The number one thing of that is credit card debt. You should always strive to pay all your credit card debt in full every month because the rates are over 20%. We also are seeing there's a big pickup in the government's action to collect on student loan debt. A lot of people haven't been paying it, and there's a lot of it that's delinquent. The government is starting to collect it, and they can take money from your Social Security or paychecks if you're behind. So if you're in that situation, you want to reach out to them and come up with a plan so all of a sudden you don't get your check and find out that it's way out of line. Something relatively new is subscriptions. You can get subscriptions to everything. We are seeing a ton of ads on TV for health clubs right now because many people make New Year's resolutions to get in better shape. A lot of people go out and join a health club. They go 1 or 2 times and they never go back, but monthly they're getting charged. There's all kinds of subscriptions for video streaming services and this and that. Take a good look at your credit card statement and see what reoccurring charges happen every month that you're not using. If you can cancel those, that will help you. A dollar not spent is often more powerful than a dollar earned in retirement. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Some people are taking way too much risk. And protecting assets from market losses. Everybody gets to be a little bit greedy. The stock market had a very uneven year. We started out early in the year with the Chinese AI company Deepfake, and they thought that they came up with something that was much cheaper than all the American AI companies, and the market went down. In March, when we had Liberation Day and all the tariffs were there, the market went down about 20%. Now, as some of those were rolled back or redone, it went up. But the market cannot keep going up 20% every year. And there are so many companies in the AI. AI is remarkable. If you haven't tried it, go on ChatGPT. You can do it for free and test. It's amazing, but it's going to change jobs. The closest thing to this that happened, history that we can remember, was back near 25, 26 years ago, near 2000. We had the dot-com bust. And think of a couple companies then that were dominant at that time. AOL. Remember AOL? They were one of the first internet companies and email companies. There's a zillion of them now, but AOL was one of the early leaders. Very, very seldom do you ever see an AOL internet email message come in. Netscape was the first browser on how you got on the internet. What happened to them? And who was his first smartphone? That was BlackBerry. And they had the most advanced phones. They don't exist anymore. So AI is here to stay, and it's going to be remarkable. There's also, we got to have some guardrails because it can be used for some pretty bad purposes. It is going to disrupt certain areas for good and bad. It's going to disrupt certain areas in the labor market. So you want to understand it. But not every company that is saying that they're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on these centers are going to be able to do it. If you're concerned, and everybody should get their portfolio stress test. It becomes a law of large numbers for the Mag 7, which have been driving the market. We got good news for you. We can stress test your portfolio at no cost or obligation. We use Morningstar data. They're one of the top people use. Sometimes we use a program called Quanti, and it uses non-biased information, and it says, here's how you've done, here's what your costs are. These are different things in there, and what's the likelihood of this to continue? Are you too concentrated in a few areas? We can do this at no cost or obligation if you give me a call at 724-684-6600. That's a free, no-cost strategy session. Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you say, is my family taking the biggest risk that I don't know about, and that sequence of risk returns? You see, when you're working, the order of returns doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have big gains early while you're accumulating money or late, you still get the same basic amount of balance. But when you get close to retirement or when you are retired, early in retirement, big market losses early or right before retirement can devastate the market because you have to start taking money out, whether it's because of required minimum distributions or whether it's just because you need income. Investments in the stock market do not guarantee pensions like pensions do, that you'll have income for life. If the market cooperates and keep going up, it could work out, but that doesn't always happen. Somebody who retired just 26 years ago at the beginning of 2000, the S&P 500, one of the best measures of the overall U.S. economy, that's the 500 biggest U.S. stocks, it took, if you did not take any money out, it took 12 years for the market to recover. Now, that wasn't that long ago. We've been spoiled since 2008, which was the tail end of that period, that the market has gone up so much. But that doesn't always happen. The next big thing that you need to control in retirement is taxes. Everybody now is thinking that the most important tax day is April 15th. That's the day your return has to be filed by, right? The IRS isn't accepting things. They usually don't accept until returns for 2025, usually until like the third week or so of January, because everybody is getting statements in. There was a lot of the first Trump tax cuts stayed in the big, beautiful bill. There were some additional ones added in, some temporarily, some permanent. But in Washington's, nothing is permanent until the next vote of Congress. But people will get their documents as January goes on. But then it's history, because we just hit a week or so ago, December 31st. Right now, we know that most of the tax cuts in the big, beautiful bill are going to be pretty much locked in for 3 more years. We don't know that if it's going to be beyond that. Even being called permanent doesn't guarantee it if there is a shift in Washington. So you want to be doing tax planning right now. Tax planning and tax preparation are very different animals. We do tax planning at Boatman Wealth Management. We can look at your last year's return, or when you get this year's return, we have spatial software that we can analyze it, and we can look for ways to reduce your future overall tax bill. If you want to try and reduce the rest of your life's taxes, we can't do a lot for 2025, but we can do a lot moving forward. It's the perfect time to give us a call, 724-684-6600. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Gary Boatman of Boatman Wealth Firm thanks you for voting him the Best in Fayette Financial Planner. Gary and his family love helping your family have the best financial life possible. They strive to get to know you and your family. Even though Boatman Wealth Management is a family firm, they have a skilled team of experts in tax planning, income planning and risk management, as well as Social Security risk management, maximization, and all other areas of financial planning. They can get the answers to all your financial questions. At Boatman Wealth Management, they want to help your family pay less in taxes and have the money to do all the great things on your bucket list. They thank you for voting for them, and as a thank you, they are offering a free strategy session so they can help you as they have for so many of your neighbors. Just call 724-684-6600. Your family deserves the best financial life possible. So call Boatman Wealth Management today at 724-684-6600.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman. And we're going to talk a little bit about health care and long-term care cost. We know open enrollment for Medicare. Medicare is a government program that everybody 65 or older must go on unless they or their spouse are still working for a company with 20 or more employees. So most seniors are on Medicare. And open enrollment ended. If you are on an Advantage plan and you're finding out, we've had some people that we helped with Medicare and they picked up a new doctor. We had somebody recently got a new orthopedic doctor and they weren't covered. up until the end of March, we're getting limited in time. You can sometimes make changes on Advantage plans. That's not true with Medigap plans, but it is. If you're just approaching 65 or you're over 65, but your employment status or your spouse's employment status is changing, Kelly can help you by calling the office at 724 684 6600. Now, one thing that Medicare and Advantage plans and Medigap plans don't cover is long-term care. It's amazing how many people need some form of long-term care in their lifetimes. The old way of paying monthly premiums, I think there's only one company in the country still doing those kind of policies, but there are some new ways out there that have been around for 10, 15 years, but it's not use it or lose it. If you want to know about that, these are policies where you get some bang for your buck if you do need long-term care. Nobody wants it, and you don't have to be in a facility for all these things. You don't have to pay monthly premiums. It's by repositioning some money. If that's of interest to you, 724-684-6600. Now, as we're starting to get closer to the end of the show, and we will finish up on some of these points next week. There's a few other really important points, but we all get busy, and we've all heard the story of the cobbler, right? In the old days, the cobbler was the one who made shoes, moccasins and shoes and that. And we heard about the cobbler's kids that didn't have shoes because he was too busy making shoes for everybody else than for his own kids. I know my daughter Kelly works with me, so she's very involved in finances. She has a lot of licenses, and she's been working with me a long time. But I know that sometimes we need to organize things better for the future generations. And in most households, you have one family member that is mostly responsible for the family's finances. We have some tools to help organize that. One we call the Family Estate Organizer. Another one we call the Survivor's Guide. If you would like to know more about how you can get those and get your finances, I had somebody a few years ago I met with. He was an engineer. He was very good with mathematics. He had 117 investments, 117 individual stocks he owned. He was doing pretty good with them, but his wife, I asked her, I said, do you have a lot of faith in your husband? And she says, oh, I trust him completely. And I said, what happens if he got hit by a bus? Could you handle 117 investments? And she said, no way. And so you've got to watch what you're leaving people. And we can help you with that with Boatman Wealth Management. As we're talking about improving your finances this year, we know that CD rates are going way down at the banks and credit unions. We actually have one provider that we just saw this week is a good, safe investment, fully guaranteed, that's paying over 6% guaranteed for 5 years. We've got many other good options. So if you need higher CD rates, be sure and give us a call. I told you at each show, as we're wrapping up this show, we're going to give you a valuable tidbit. If you take this tidbit and you do something with it, you take these steps 1 week at a time, you'll put your family in much better financial conditions. Look at your credit card balances. If you have balances on there, come up with a plan to pay them off. Make at least minimum payments on every credit card if you have multiple ones, but see which one is charging the highest interest rate and pay more on there. If you pay the minimum, they put a statement on there and it says if you just pay the minimum, how long. It's amazing how many years it can take, and that's if you don't use the credit card anymore. And if you have a balance and you buy something new, you're paying interest on that new purchase. That isn't true if you have a zero balance going into the month. So my tip for this week is look at all your credit cards and come up with a plan to pay them off. You're not going to do it all at once, but that would put your family in great financial shape. To get information, I'll soon be a certified financial planner in March for 35 years. So everybody's retirement's different, but everybody has a lot of common elements. We can help you with that. To get a no obligation, no cost strategy session, 724-684-6600. And have a great day.
And the preceding program was recorded for playback at this time. WMBS time is 8:50. Up next, the daily obituary announcements.
WMBS high school basketball coverage is proudly sponsored by the law firm of Goodwin Como. Voted Fayette County's best attorney, Benjamin F. Goodwin, and the award-winning Goodwin Como team have been trusted by your friends and neighbors for nearly 2 decades.